Hi, I'm Jeff, and I have a problem. My grandma's walker is boring and uncomfortable. Jarf! So I'm gonna make some walker swag. So, what's the plan? Well, I've got this pattern, simplicity, something or other. The plan was originally to use pattern A out of this to make a seat cover for the walker, but it's uncomfortable, so a seat cover in and of itself is not really the best idea. So I'm just gonna have to wing this one. We'll come back to designing it later. And speaking of cushions, this is what we've got for the seat cushion. A big old block of high density foam. Bam! Heavyweight stabilizer to go underneath the cushion. Some Velcro to go underneath the seat to make sure it stays on. And of course some cute as heck cotton to make it all look pretty. Yeah, let's go ahead and dive into my design here. So this is what it's going to look like in the end. I've taken all the dimensions out, and we are going to be working in freedom units. Sorry if you're from anywhere else, but I'm sewing today and I do sewing in inches. The first thing I need to do is figure out what size do I cut my foam to. And for that, I'm going to need the original seat dimensions. I've got the original seat dimensions through the magic of doing it ahead of time. And that is 12 inches by 12 inches. All right, so next up, we're going to continue designing the topper that's going to go over and around this. And so for that, I'm going to need to take into account the sides. More cover. All right, so I'm going to need the cushion thickness, which is 2 inches thick according to the packaging. But you know what? I'm gonna go ahead and measure that. All right, yep, it is right at 2 inches thick. I'm gonna put 2 inches, whoop, down here. Additionally, I'm gonna need what's called a seam allowance. The seam allowance is the distance from the raw edge where the stitch is laid down. The standard seam allowance is about 5/8 of an inch, and it's actually marked on the machine with a line so you can use to align your fabric as you're stitching and give the proper seam allowance. And that's going to be 5/8 of an inch right here, standard seam allowance. Next up, I got to think about these corners, because this corner has to interface with this corner. And if I don't give myself another seam allowance, I'm gonna be sorry. And so I will. I'll give myself 5/8 over here. And that'll give my pattern wings. Next up, we're gonna look at the overall dimensions, because that's what I'm gonna actually have to cut as a big square, and then I'll cut out the corners. So my final dimensions, the way I did this was I just kind of dropped down all of the dimensions going side to side and added those up. So I've got 5/8 here from the 5/8 up here, then the other 2 inches, and I add my 12 inches, and then over here it's the mirror of this. If I add up all the whole numbers, I get 16 inches across. And then I'll add up my fractions, and so I've got 5/8 and 5/8 equals 10/8, which is also equal to 5/4 reduced to proper fraction, 1 1/4 inches. Freedom! All right, so now I've got my total outer dimensions, 7 1/4 inches, and my corners here are going to be 2 inches. And because it's square, I'll do it's basically 17 1/4 by 17 1/4 cut out of this. Then I'll cut the corners, and then it'll be time to make the cover bottom. So for this, I need the cushion dimensions. So we know that from earlier. That's going to be 12 inches by 12 inches. And then we need the seam allowances, which we already know, 5/8 and 5/8. Because we did it just a minute ago, we remember 5/8 and 5/8 is 1 1/4 inches, so add that to 12, and we get an overall length of 13 1/4 inches square. All right, well, I guess at this point, the only thing left to do is cut it out. right, well, got everything cut out. Now it's time to sew it up. P.S. Future Jeff, don't forget the Velcro.
That's me forgetting the Velcro.
So what are my final thoughts on the project? Now, unfortunately, I don't have the cushion anymore to show you. I went ahead and gave it away already. It was Easter over this last weekend. I was seeing my grandmother anyways, so it's gone. I don't have it to show off. I do have some thoughts. The bottom of the cushion was surprisingly difficult to align, and I'm not sure that I found a good solution to that problem. I would just experiment with maybe sewing the corners last. I don't know, but it's something left to figure out for me. What else? The pattern that I came up with worked surprisingly well. It fit like a glove, the cushion went in, and the bottom started to rip. I would probably use a different material for the bottom than that, what was it? Heavyweight stabilizer. I would choose something different because this tears along the seam line. And matter of fact, I can tear it sitting right here. I can't do that with a woven fabric, and I don't think I can do that with standard interfacing. So that I would change. Otherwise, it turned out really great, and I'm really happy about it, and I hope that it makes my grandma's butt a little less sore sometimes. Don't forget to follow me on Instagram, where you can see even more maker stuff. As my brother always says, dude bro. And like and subscribe. And I hope to see you next time on the Jarfcast.
Jarf!